dear learners on the platform of MOOCs. I am Professor Muhammad Nafis Ahmad Ansari from Department of Political Science of Aligarh Muslim University. In the series of lecture on the personal administration, today we will discuss about the functions of the Public Service Commission. The Union Public Service Commission is a constitutional body that was established in accordance with Article 315 of the Constitution. It is tasked with the responsibility of selecting the most qualified candidates based solely on merit from among the vast pool of talents that are available in the country. This is accomplished through a selection process that is both objective and fair. As a result, the functions of an institution such as the Union Public Service Commission is therefore twofold. First, it must adopt a well known motto from the annals of American history: keep the rascals out. Second, it must make an effort to include the most qualified individuals. It was also enjoined with it under the Article 320, Clause 2, that it should assist any two or more states in framing and operating schemes of joint recruitment for any services if they are requested it. Now, only did the Union Public Service Commission has jurisdiction over the public service of the union government, but it also had jurisdictions over the centrally administered union territories, for which candidates possess special qualifications are required. In addition, Article 315, Clause 4 empowers the Commission at the request of the Governor for a state and with the approval of the President to agree to serve all or any of the needs of the state. For example, the Union Public Service Commission served as the need of the state of Sikkim in this matter till the establishment of Public Service Commission for that state. The functions of the Union Public Service Commission are enshrined in the Article 320 of the Constitution, which is followed by Article 321, which stipulates that it may granted additional function. In addition, an act passed by the Parliament, or if the situation warrants, the legislature of a state may provide for the exercise of additional functions by the Union Public Service Commission or the State Public Service Commission. These functions pertains to the services of any local authority or any other body, corporate constituted by law, or any public institution. In accordance with Article 320, the Commission's functions can be classified into two categories: those that are mandatory or administrative, and those that are consultative or advisory. So, one is that a mandatory, other is that an advisory. The Commission's functions can be classified into two categories. That is clearly been there in the form of a mandatory, in the form of advisory. As of concerning anything that has to do with the process of hiring people for civil services position and to fill civil posts, on the principles that must be adhered to when making appointments, the civil services and the post, as well as when making promotions and transfers from one services to other, and on the other hand, the suitable of the candidates for which appointments, promotion or transfer. Regarding any and all the disciplinary matters that pertinent to a person who is employing the government of India in a civil capacity, including memories or petitions that are associated with such problems. On any claim made by or in regard to a person who is serving as the serviced under the government of India in a civil capacity, it is required that any cost is spent by that person in defending legal actions filed against him in relation to an act that was done or purported to be done should be paid out of the consolidated fund of India. Any claim for award of pension in respect to the injuries experienced by a person while serving under the government of India in a civil capacity, as well as any question regarding the amount of any such award, the court will hear the case. Anything else that the president may choose to refer to the panel for consideration. It is important to remember that the Commission is merely acting in an advancing role and regard to aforementioned concerns, and its recommendations are not legally binding. Thus, the functions of the Union Public Service Commission is varied recruiting to the All India and the central services is made through the civil services examination, engineering services examination, etc., conducted by the Union Public Service Commissions are held for admission to the National Defence Academy, Indian Military Naval Air Force Services Academy. Recruitment to isolated posts are made by conducting interviews for the commissions, are consulted in respect of appointment of certain categories of the post under Municipal Corporation of Delhi, the Employee State Insurance Corporations, and the Employees Provident Funds Organization in terms of provisions made in the relevant acts in the pursuance of Article 321 of the Constitution. The Union Public Service Commission is responsible for handling cases that are pertain to promotions within the central service sector. Promotions ranging from the state services to the services across everyone in India. The approval of the Commission is necessary for promotion and later transfer deputations from wherever the government makes ad hoc appointment prior to availability of recommendations for the commissions. These appointments are to be constituted for more than 1 year. All disciplinary cases involving officers of the central government, including those involving railway workers and members of defense civil servants, would be referred to the Commission for advice before the imposition of penalties in accordance with the respective rules. In situations where the President is the authority to impose penalties, all cases involving officers belonging to All India services should be referred to the Commission for advice by the state or the central government depending on the circumstances. The government, given the current states of affairs in India, where competition is on the rise, the Union Public Service Commission's work has become significantly more difficult than it was before. In spite of the fact that it is challenging assignment, the Commission is able to select the proper hand for task of filtering merit in order to ensure the smooth governance of the country. Section 320 of the Constitution of India, passed in 1950, has clearly explained what are the specific functions that is to be carried out by the Public Service Commission. In the first, it said, it shall be the duty of the Union and the State Public Service Commission to conduct examinations for appointment to the services of the Union and the services of the state respectively. So here what we find, all the examination for the recruitment of the personnel either in the central or union services or in the state services is under the purview of the Public Service Commission. Second, it says that it shall also be the duty of the Union Public Service Commission, if requested by any two or more states, so to do to assist those states in framing and operating schemes of joint recruitment for any services for which candidate possess a special qualification and required. So here what we find, there is a requirement of personnels which has an special qualifications, and these personnels are important for two or more states. Then in that circumstances, the Union Public Service Commission holds the examination for the process of recruitment. The Union Public Service Commission or the State Public Service Commission, as the case may be, shall be consulted and can be performing the advisory functions also. For example, number one that we find, it is mentioned in the Constitution that on all matters relating to the methods of recruitment to the civil services and for the civil post. So what a procedure it is there, if any amendment or changes that is been required in the procedure of the recruitment process by the public service commissions, for that an advice can be provided by the commission to the president. Then second, what we find in that advisory area on the principles to be followed in the making appointment to the civil services and the post, in making promotions and transfer from one services to other, and on the suitable candidates for such appointments, promotions and transfer. So there are the promotions, transfers, and change of services from one office to the other. All these are the concern, a very important concern in the area of the civil services. And for that purpose, the Public Service Commission provide advice to the President. On the basis of that advice, President finds it is easy to act on it. Third, that we find on all the disciplinary matters affecting the persons serving under the Government of India or the Government of State in a civil capacity, including memorials or the petitions relating to the such matters. So third is also very important. Whenever any actions, disciplinary actions, when there is a violation of law by the civil servants, there is a need of actions to be taken against them. That is the disciplinary actions. On these matters also, an advice is sought by the President from the Public Service Commission, and their advice is important for the President to take decision. The fourth one is on any claim by or in respect of a person who is serving and has served under the Government of India or the Government of State or under the Crown of India or under the Government of Indian State in a civil capacity, that any cost incurred by him in defending legal proceedings instituted against him in respect of acts done or purporting to be done in the execution of these duties should be paid on out of the Consolidated Fund of India, or as the case may be, out of the Consolidated Fund of India, of fund of the state. So here, what means that anything that has happened during the course of a duty and the case is registered against the civil servant, then there is a need of legal proceedings. And this legal proceeding, there is an expenses that is being required. So here it is been said that the Public Service Commission recommends the President to provide a fund from the Consolidated Fund of India if it is of central services, and state, for a state is concerned, the Consolidated Fund of State, they should provide a fund for the purpose of the legal proceeding that is going on the civil servants who has been framed in the case while performing his duties. On any other claim for the award of pension in respect of injuries sustained by a person while serving under the Government of India or the Government of State or under the Crown of India or under the Government of India states in the civil capacity, and any questions as to be amount of any such award, and it shall be the duty of Public Service Commission to advise on any matters so referred to him on any other matter which the President, or in the case may be, or by the Governor of the state when it refers for the state purposes. So here it is been said an injury has been occurred to the civil servants while they are performing their duties. The compensation has to be made. A pension has to be provided. All these, the advice is sought by the President from the Union Public Service Commission, by the Governor in the State Public Service Commissions. So these advices is very essential for the purpose of sanctioning the amount that is there in the form of a compensation. At the same time, when the President of India or the state government wants to have any other advices, that will be rendered by the Public Service Commission. Under the condition that the President, with regard to all India services and also with regard to the other services and posts in connections with the affairs of the unions, and the Governor, as the case may be, with regard to the services and posts in connection with the affairs of the state, may make regulations specifying the matters in which it shall not be necessary to consult a Public Service Commission, either generally in any particular case, class of cases, or any particular circumstances. The President may make such regulations. Nothing in clause 3 shall require a Public Service Commission to be contacted regarding the method in which any provisions referred to the clause 4 of the article 16 may be made, or regarding the manner in which the provisions of article 335 may be given effect. This is because clause 3 does not need a Public Service Commission to be consulted. Another area is that all regulations that are made in accordance with the proviso in the clause 3 by the President, the Governor of a state, are required to be laid for a period of at least 14 days before each House of the Parliament or House or each Houses of the Legislature of a state, as the case may be, as soon as possible after they are made. Furthermore, these regulations are subject to any modifications, whether they be in the forms of repeal or amendment, that both Houses of the Parliament or the Houses of both Houses of the state legislature of a state may make during session in which they are laid down. On the 3rd of August 1949, Assembly deliberated on the draft of Article 286, which was Article 320 of the Constitution. A draft of the article outlined the duties that the Public Service Commission is responsible for. In order to replace the draft article with a new version that included two new clauses, the chairman of the drafting committee made a motion. In the first place, there was a provisions that was attached to the third clause, and it outlined the issue that needed to be discussed with the service commissions. The second one mandated that the regulations that were formulated by the Public Service Commission has to be presented to each of the Houses of the Parliament simultaneously. Clause 2 of the draft article, which is stated that the Union Public Service Commission should assist in developing and implementing schemes of joint recruitment for which individuals with particular qualifications are necessary, came under the scrutiny for a member who proposed an amendment to remove. As far as he was concerned, the clause was superfluous and had already been discussed in the earlier article. Another member of the Assembly expressed a desire to modify the clause that stated the Public Service Commissions ought to be consulted on any and all matters concerning the recruitment of individuals to public service positions and postings. He was the opinion that this clause, along with the criteria for examination, should be prevent the entire populace from the participating in civil services system, so allowing just a small portion to the public to benefit from it. The discussion that surrounded this draft article also included the presentation of a few more modifications. The Assembly, on the other hand, did not approve any of them. On the same day, the Assembly decided to follow the chairman of the drafting committee's recommendation that accept the revised version of the draft article. In addition, there is a provision that allows President to extend the functions of the commissions not to just in regard to the service provided by the government, but also in regard to services provided by the local authorities, businesses, or public organizations. By removing such jobs from the commission scope, it is possible to lower the total amount of jurisdictions that is possessed. As illustration, the commission is not consulted when it comes to the selection of individuals for the following positions. Number one, membership or the chairmanship of a tribunal or commissions. Number two, post of a higher diplomatic nature. Number three, employees belonging to group C and D group, which together amount to nearly 90% of the total number of the central government employees. In cases involving censors, compulsory retirement, removal or dismissal from the service, seductions to a lower grade or position or scale, holding the increments or promotions, and reinstituting of the whole part or any loss to be made the government by negligence or branch of order, the commission is contacted during these types of situation. Furthermore, the commission is consulted in respect to an order of the president on appeal against any of the penalties listed above that was imposed by a subordinate authority following consideration of any petitions, memorandums, or other form of communication. The commission also provides the government with advice on methods of recruitment, such as well as the principles that should be adhered to when making appointments, promotions, and transfer for one service to other, as well as the fitness of the candidates for such appointment, promotion, or transfer. With regard to the work that the commission has accomplished, it is the responsibility of the commission to provide the president with a report on an annual basis. The report, along with the memorandum that explains the actions done by the government in response to the recommendations made by the commission, is presented to the parliament. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the government to provide an explanation for the reasons in the event that it has not accepted the recommendation made by the panel. In concluding this function, the Union Public Service Commission serves similar purpose to that of a watchdog in India's merit system, both in terms of its job and its functioning. For all India services, it is responsible for recruiting and appointing members in Group A, B, C, and D. The appointment of these agencies connected to the central government, which is another reason why it is also known as the Central Recruiting Agency. The Union Public Service Commission in India is also known as the Central Recruiting Agency. The UPSC in India is entrusted with the important constitutional duties and obligations, and yet is assigned only an advisory role to nature of the Federal Public Service Commission under the Government of India Act 1935 was also advisory in UPSC renders advices to the government and later in under legal obligation to act according to his advice through the government is not bound by the advice of the commissions. Necessary safeguards has been provided in the constitution against the possible disregarded of the advice of the commission by the recommendations. Members of the Union Public Service Commission are appointed for a fixed tenure. These provisions are intended to make the commissions independent of an external influence. The Public Service Commission is an autonomous body. The Union Public Service Commission was meant to have a design to operate as an independent body similar to CAG or the Supreme Court. The terms of services of the Commission ought to be governed by the appropriate law that is adopted by the Parliament as in and when Comptroller and Auditor General, as well as by the regulating making methods of the executive, which is followed by the President. The Union Public Service Commission and the State Public Service Commission's primary authority is to advise, and they have the jurisdiction to provide advice to the President and Governor on these themes, which pertains all the concerns concerning the governments or civil workers. Thank you very much.